Alan Ford stood at the edge of the clearing watching the sunrise paint the Wyoming mountains gold. After 15 years as a park ranger following his Marine service, he still found peace in these quiet moments. His radio buzzed, breaking the silence. "All park staff, check your emails. Something big from the government," said the voice of his boss. Alan sighed and pulled out his tablet. The email's subject line made him pause. Planetary Survival Challenge, Final Selection Round. He opened it and began to read. 3 weeks later, Alan sat in a waiting room with 50 other candidates in Seattle. The room buzzed with excitement. These were the finalists from across America. Wilderness experts, military veterans, doctors, and scientists. All had passed the initial tests, but only 4 would go to space to represent Earth. Olivia Martinez entered the room, her dark hair pulled back tightly. She carried a notebook filled with sketches of plants. As one of the country's top botanists with experience in 5 biomes, from deserts to rainforests, she had skills few could match. She sat beside Alan, offering a small smile. "Nervous?" she asked. "Nope. Just another test," he replied. "I heard this final round lasts 3 days," Olivia said. Before Alan could respond, a tall man with a wide grin dropped into the seat across from them. "Eric Powell," he said, extending his hand. "Engineer and tinkerer extraordinaire. I can build anything from nothing." The last seat at their table was taken by a woman with short gray hair and steady hands. "Patricia Watson," she said. "Everyone calls me Pat, emergency doctor for 20 years. A door opened and a stern woman in a military uniform entered. "I'm Commander Kellen Baker. Welcome to the final selection for Earth's team. What you don't know is that this isn't just a survival challenge. It's our first invitation to the Galactic Confederation's multi-species survival test." The room fell silent. "Yes, aliens," Baker continued. "They've been watching us for decades. First contact happened quietly 5 years ago. Now they've invited Earth to join this test alongside 50 other intelligent species." Screens around the room lit up, showing strange creatures of various shapes and colors. Some with multiple limbs, others with scales or feathers. The Confederation runs this test every 50 years. They want to see how different species handle survival situations. Earth was invited as a courtesy, but honestly, they don't expect much from us. "They think we're fragile," Eric laughed. "They've clearly never been to Florida." Baker smiled. "Exactly. We need to show them what humans can do. The test takes place on planet GX-439. It has Earth-like gravity and atmosphere, but harsher conditions. Your performance here will determine our 4 representatives." The next 3 days pushed the candidates to their limits. They faced mock survival scenarios, knowledge tests, and psychological evaluations. Each night, more candidates were eliminated. On the final day, only 10 remained. They sat exhausted in the mess hall when Baker entered with a tablet. "Our team has been chosen," she announced. "Alan Ford, Olivia Martinez, Eric Powell, and Patricia Watson." The 4 looked at each other in surprise. Later, in a private briefing room, Baker showed them classified files. "The aliens think this planet is extremely dangerous," she explained, displaying images of GX-439. "To us, it looks like a rough camping trip. There are storms, temperature shifts, and some predators, but nothing worse than Earth's harshest regions. Why? Do they think it's so bad?" Pat asked. "Most intelligent species evolved on gentle planets. Earth is what they call a death world, a planet that should be too harsh to produce intelligent life. They're amazed we exist at all." Alan studied the terrain maps. "So what's our mission?" "Survive for 60 days and reach the extraction point. Complete tasks along the way. But your real mission is diplomatic. Show the galaxy what humans can do." 3 months later, Alan stood in a massive space station called the Harmony of Stars. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the halls. Some had 6 limbs, others floated in bubbles of liquid. Many stared at the humans with what seemed like concern. A blue-skinned alien with 4 arms approached them. "I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Jaxari. I must express concern for your participation. This test is designed for species with much greater physical resilience than humans. Alan nodded politely. We appreciate your concern, but we'll be fine. Zixtal's skin rippled in what might have been the alien version of a frown. Your confidence is admirable but misplaced. Many participants require psychological treatment after this experience. After the ambassador left, Eric grinned. Did that alien just tell us we're too weak for their camping trip? Sure sounded like it, Pat said. Olivia was studying her tablet. These preparation materials are strange. They keep talking about mental, fortitude in the face of extreme adversity, and coping with harsh planetary conditions. What harsh conditions? Alan asked, looking over her shoulder. 50-degree temperature shifts, we get that in Montana in spring. A loud tone sounded, and a melodic voice spoke in perfect English. All test participants, please report to your designated briefing chambers. The humans followed directions to a room where a tall, thin alien with pale green skin waited. Its head had no visible eyes, just sensor organs that pulsed with light. I am High Coordinator Ven Lux, it said. I will oversee your preparation for the test. For the next week, the humans sat through briefings that seemed increasingly dramatic. They watched videos of the planet's terrain that looked challenging but manageable. Meanwhile, through the station's windows, they could see other alien species, being led to their briefings. Many seemed terrified. On the final day before deployment, Alan found a trembling, gelatinous alien hiding in a supply closet. Are you okay? He asked. No, the alien burbled. I cannot face the horrors of the test planet. 3 of my teammates have already withdrawn. Alan tried to reassure the creature, but it oozed away in fear. That night, the human team gathered. In their quarters. Something's not adding up, Pat said. They're treating this like some kind of hellscape, but the briefing materials show conditions that any experienced Earth camper could handle. Alan nodded. Commander Baker sent a secure message. Intelligence suggests the Confederation genuinely believes this will be nearly impossible for us. We're being underestimated, Eric grinned. So we just need to show them what Earthlings can do. Exactly, Alan said. Tomorrow, we start proving that humans aren't just survivors. We're champions. As the humans prepared for sleep, alien medical teams were busy sedating participants from other worlds, helping them manage their terror before the drop to GX-439. The transport ship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of GX-439. Alan Ford gripped his seat, watching the planet's surface come into view through the small window. Swirling clouds parted to reveal mountains, forests, and wide rivers. It looked like the wild parts of Earth, perhaps a bit more rugged, but nothing that seemed impossible. Across the aisle, an insect-like alien called Morv Deet was shaking so badly that its exoskeleton made clicking sounds. Several other aliens were in similar states of distress. One blue-skinned creature was curled into a ball making soft crying noises. Are you okay? Olivia Martinez asked the crying alien. No one is okay, the alien replied in a translator-assisted voice. I am Kulan of Pelax. My people are brave, but this is madness. Eric Powell leaned across the aisle. It's just a camping trip with bad weather. What's got everyone so worked up? Kulan's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. You humans truly do not understand. This planet is classified as extreme hazard level. The storms alone can kill. Pat Watson joined the conversation. We have storms on Earth too. Hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards. Impossible, Kulan said. No intelligent species could evolve in such conditions. A voice came over the speakers. Prepare for landing. All participants will have 10 minutes to gather their assigned gear before deployment. The ship touched down with a gentle bump. When the doors opened, a blast of cool air rushed in. The human team stepped out and looked around. They had landed in a clearing, surrounded by tall, purple-tinged trees. The sky was overcast, and in the distance, lightning flashed. Commander Kellen Baker met them at the bottom of the ramp, standing beside a tall, gray-haired man in a white coat. Team Earth, this is Dr. Greg Winters, our xenobiologist observer, Baker said. He'll be monitoring the test but can't interfere unless your lives are in immediate danger. Dr. Winters nodded. The supervisory AI will be your main point of contact. He pointed to a floating silver sphere nearby. That's its physical presence, but it has sensors throughout the test zone. The sphere glowed and spoke in a neutral voice. I am impartial observer. My purpose is to monitor all test participants and provide necessary information. Your first task is to establish shelter before the coming storm. Your supply packs contain basic tools and emergency rations for 3 days. After that, you must be self-sufficient. The humans collected their packs, each about the size of a small backpack, and checked the contents. Each pack held a multi-tool, water purification tablets, a small medical kit, a space blanket, and 3 meal bars. That's it? Eric asked, digging through his pack. I was expecting more. This is considered generous by test standards, the AI replied. Many species requested no supplies at all as they believe it makes the test too easy. Alan laughed. Well, we'll take what we can get. Which way to our zone? The AI directed them to a path leading into the forest. As they walked, they passed other alien teams being deployed. Many were frozen in fear, some needing to be physically pushed toward their assigned areas. The human team hiked for about an hour before reaching their designated zone, a small clearing near a fast-flowing river. Dark clouds were gathering overhead. First priority is shelter, Alan said, slipping easily into leadership mode. Eric, how quickly can you build something that will keep us dry? Eric surveyed the area. With these trees and vines, I can make a pretty good lean-to in about an hour. If we all work together, we can make it even better. Olivia, check for useful plants, Alan continued. Pat, see if there's a safer water source than this river. It's moving too fast to approach safely. Everyone nodded and set to work. By the time the first raindrops fell, they had constructed a sturdy shelter using fallen branches, large leaves, and vines. Eric had even created a small fire pit with a makeshift chimney to direct smoke outside. The storm hit with impressive force. Wind howled and rain pounded their shelter, but the structure held. Inside, the humans sat comfortably around a small fire. Not bad for our first day, Pat said, warming her hands. A soft chime sounded, and the supervisory AI sphere floated into their shelter. Your physiological readings show surprisingly low stress levels, it said. Most teams are currently experiencing severe anxiety. This is just like that time I got caught in a storm in the Rockies, Alan replied. Actually, that was worse because I was alone. The AI hovered silently for a moment as if processing this information. The water in this zone contains trace minerals toxic to most species. How are you planning to handle hydration? Pat held up her water bottle. We filled these before the storm and added purification tablets. Tomorrow we'll boil water from that. Stream Olivia found. Fascinating, the AI said before floating back out into the storm. On their second day, the humans expanded their camp. Eric built a more permanent shelter while Alan set simple traps for small animals. Olivia identified several edible plants and fruits, and Pat organized their medical supplies. By midday, a group of aliens from a nearby camp cautiously approached. They had gray skin and 4 arms each. They looked tired and scared. We are the Centauri, one said. Our shelter collapsed in the storm. We have not eaten. Without hesitation, Pat offered them some of the fruit Olivia had gathered. Alan showed them how to reinforce their shelter, and Eric gave them tips on starting a fire. After the Centauri left, the floating sphere returned. Your behavior is unusual. Most species focus solely on their own survival. Eric shrugged. Helping others doesn't cost us much. Besides, they might help us someday. That evening, more alien teams visited their camp. Word had spread that the humans were willing to share knowledge. By nightfall, representatives from 5 different species sat around the humans' fire, learning how to identify safe food sources and build better shelters. When another storm approached, none of the visitors wanted to leave. The human camp had become a haven of calm competence. You may stay, Alan told them. Our shelter can fit everyone if we squeeze. As the storm raged, the aliens watched in amazement as the humans told jokes and sang songs to pass the time. One alien, a small purple creature with 6 eyes, finally asked the question they were all thinking. "Why are you not afraid? This planet is terrible, the conditions are brutal." The humans looked at each other in confusion. "This isn't brutal," Olivia said. "This is like a camping trip with bad weather." "Yeah," Eric added. "Wait until I tell you about the time I got stuck in a Minnesota winter with nothing but a lighter and a pocket knife. That was brutal." The aliens listened with wide eyes as the humans shared survival stories from Earth. To the humans, these were exciting adventures. To the aliens, they sounded like nightmares. Unknown to the humans, every word was being recorded and transmitted to the Galactic Confederation's observation center. There, officials watched in growing disbelief as the Deathworlders treated the survival test like a game. 10 days had passed on planet GX-439. The human camp had changed from a simple shelter to a small village. Eric had built a smokehouse for preserving meat, a water collection system, and even chairs made from fallen trees. Olivia had started a garden with edible alien plants. Alan had mapped the surrounding 5 miles and marked good hunting spots. Pat had set up a medical area where she treated not only humans, but any alien who needed help. The floating sphere of the supervisory AI appeared as Alan returned to camp with 2 rabbit-like creatures for dinner. 17 species have requested emergency extraction, the AI announced. This is the highest withdrawal rate in test history. "That's a shame," Alan said. "The weather's finally getting nice." The AI hovered silently for a moment. "Your team's vital signs and stress hormones remain at baseline levels. The Confederation observers are confused." Pat looked up from where she was treating a burn on an alien's tentacle. "Confused about what?" "Your species appears to be enjoying the test." Eric laughed as he adjusted his latest invention, a small wind turbine made from spare parts. "Well, yeah. It's like a paid vacation with interesting company." The AI departed and the humans continued their work. Later that day, a tall, graceful alien with shimmering skin approached their camp. Unlike most visitors, she didn't seem afraid. "I am Lyra Vex of the Altheans," she said. "May I observe your camp? I am fascinated by your methods." "Sure," Olivia said. "I was just about to check on my garden. Want to come?" Lyra Vex followed Olivia to the small plot where various plants were growing. "You started a garden? But we will only be here for 50 more days." "True, but some of these grow quickly. We'll have fresh greens in a week, better than just eating meat and whatever we can forage." On the other side of the camp, a muscular alien with thick red skin watched Alan sharpen his knife. This was Kartok, a Dravri warrior who had visited several times. "Your hunting skills are impressive," Kartok said. "On my world, only our most elite warriors could track prey so well." Alan shrugged. "I learned as a kid. My dad taught me. Then the Marines taught me more. Then I spent years as a park ranger. Nothing special." "Nothing special," Kartok repeated, shaking his head in wonder. That evening, a small alien with multiple eyes and a device always in hand approached the camp. This was Ela 7, a Senti scientist who had been documenting everything about the humans. "May I record your evening activities?" Ela 7 asked. "For scientific purposes." "Sure," Eric said. "We're just having dinner and maybe singing some songs later." As the sun set, more aliens gathered around the human camp. Word had spread across the test zones that the humans were not just surviving, but thriving. They had become a curiosity. In the observation center orbiting the planet, officials watched the growing gathering with concern. Ben Mitchell, Earth's UN representative, smiled as he viewed the footage beside a large alien official. "Your humans are disrupting the test parameters," the alien said. "How so?" Mitchell asked. "They're just surviving, which is the point. They are changing the behavior of other species. 17 teams have withdrawn, but those near the human camp are staying. Is cooperation against the rules?" The alien had no good answer for that. Back at the camp, Alan was teaching some aliens how to make snares when the sky darkened suddenly. the air filled with a strange smell. Acid rain approaching. The AI's voice announced from its floating sphere. All participants should seek shelter immediately. The aliens panicked, but the humans stayed calm. Eric pulled out tarps he had made from the large leaves of local plants. "Everyone grab a corner," he shouted. "We need to cover the camp." Together, humans and aliens stretched the waterproof tarps over the main areas of the camp. As the first drops fell, sizzling where they hit bare ground, everyone was safely under cover. "The acid isn't strong enough to hurt us through clothes," Pat explained to the frightened aliens. "Just stay covered and don't touch your eyes." Eric set out containers to collect the rain. "We can neutralize this with some of the alkaline soil from the riverbank. It'll be useful for cleaning." The aliens stared at him in disbelief. "You want to use the deadly rain?" one asked. "It's not deadly if you're careful," Eric replied. "Just another resource." When the rain stopped, the humans emerged and began checking their tarps for damage. To lighten the mood, Alan started singing an old hiking song. Soon Eric and Olivia joined in, and Pat added harmony. The aliens watched, fascinated, as the humans sang cheerfully while standing in puddles of acid that had eaten small holes in the soil. Unknown to the humans, their songs were being broadcast across the Confederation. On thousands of worlds, aliens watched these strange Deathworlders making music in conditions that would terrify most species. On a luxury station millions of miles away, a gruff human named Sven Bubba Johnson watched the footage with a grin. As host of Extreme Survival Challenge, a popular Earth show, he had been hired by the Confederation to provide human perspective on the test. "Those folks are having the time of their lives," Bubba told the alien producers. "This is like a paid vacation for them." The aliens couldn't comprehend this attitude. One producer, a tall, thin being with pale skin, leaned forward. "The test is meant to be difficult," the producer said. "Perhaps the human zone is not challenging enough." Bubba shrugged. "You can make it harder, but they'll probably still have fun." The producer made a note, and soon after, orders were transmitted to the planet's weather control systems. 3 days later, as the human team was teaching a group of aliens how to play baseball with makeshift equipment, the ground began to shake. Dark clouds gathered overhead and the temperature dropped 30 degrees in minutes. "Weather anomaly detected," the AI announced. "All participants should prepare for extreme conditions." The aliens ran for shelter, but Eric looked up at the sky with excitement. "Now this is getting interesting," he shouted over the rising wind. While the aliens huddled in fear, the humans rushed to secure their camp, working efficiently despite the deteriorating conditions. They moved with purpose, calling out to each other over the wind, sometimes even laughing when a strong gust nearly knocked them over. As the storm intensified, a massive creature burst from the forest. It resembled a bear with 6 legs and razor-sharp spines along its back. It had been driven from its den by flooding and was now heading straight for the camp. Most of the aliens screamed and scattered, but Alan stood his ground. He grabbed a makeshift spear and shouted to distract the creature from the fleeing aliens. The beast roared and charged him. With perfect timing, Alan dodged and struck with his spear, wounding but not killing the animal. It turned to attack again, but Eric and Olivia joined Alan, forming a defensive line. Working together, they drove the creature away without killing it. "That was awesome," Eric shouted as the beast disappeared into the forest. The aliens stared at the humans in shock. Not only had they faced down a terrifying predator, but they had enjoyed the encounter. That night, as the storm still raged outside their reinforced shelter, the humans celebrated their victory with stories and songs. The aliens listened, slowly, beginning to understand that these strange Deathworlders experienced fear very differently than they did. They didn't just survive hardship, they thrived on it. 30 days into the survival test, only 12 alien species remained on the planet besides the humans. The rest had called for emergency extraction, unable to cope with the conditions. The human camp had become a small community center where aliens came to learn, trade, and find help. In the orbiting observation station, Grand Observer Thelix, the highest-ranking Confederation official supervising the test, called an emergency meeting. Thelix was tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to glow faintly. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he addressed the gathered officials. "This test has become meaningless," Thelix said, pointing to the screen showing the human camp. "These Deathworlders are treating our most extreme survival scenario as a recreational activity." Earth's Secretary of Interstellar Affairs, Dan Carter, tried not to smile as he listened. Next to him sat Major Lisa Reeves, a Space Force officer who had been monitoring the test. "Perhaps we should acknowledge that humans have unique adaptive capabilities," Carter suggested. "Or perhaps," Thelix countered, "we have not properly challenged them yet." Reeves frowned. "The conditions are already at the maximum safety levels allowed by the test parameters. Then we shall exceed them," Thelix declared. "The Council has approved a special cataclysm scenario." "That's dangerous," Reeves protested. "You can't just—" "The decision is final," Thelix interrupted. "We must understand the true limits of human resilience." Back on the planet, Alan was showing a small group of aliens how to set snares when the floating sphere of the supervisory AI approached. "Attention all participants," the AI announced. "A planetary weather anomaly has been detected. All teams are advised to prepare for severe conditions." "What kind of severe?" Alan asked. "Extreme storms, seismic activity, and temperature fluctuations beyond normal test parameters," the AI replied. "Emergency extraction is available upon request." A thin, plant-like alien named Nisha, who had become friends with Olivia, immediately activated her emergency beacon. Around the camp, other aliens did the same. Alarms chimed as extraction was requested. "Aren't you going to call for extraction?" Nisha asked Olivia. "Why would we?" Olivia replied. "This sounds like the final challenge." Back at the human camp, Eric was reinforcing their structures, while Pat inventoried their supplies. They had prepared for bad weather before, but this sounded worse than usual. A large reptilian alien approached Alan. This was Vork, a Krell warrior who had initially kept his distance, but gradually began to respect the humans. "My team is leaving," Vork said. "But I wish to stay and face this challenge with you." Alan nodded. "Extra hands are always welcome." Within hours, the sky darkened to an unnatural purple color. Winds began to howl, and the ground trembled. Most aliens had already been extracted, leaving only the humans, Vork, and a few other brave souls who decided to stay. The supervisory AI sphere flickered, then went dark. The communication system they had built to contact other camps stopped working. "They've cut communications," Pat said. "That can't be good." Eric looked up from his work. "Or it's part of the test, making it more challenging." The first shockwave hit, knocking everyone off their feet. Trees cracked and fell. Lightning struck repeatedly near the camp. "This is definitely not normal weather," Alan shouted over the wind. "Something's wrong." "The other camps," Olivia said suddenly. "Some aliens didn't have time to evacuate. They could be in danger." Without hesitation, Alan made a decision. "We need to help them. Eric, Pat, stay here and secure our camp. Olivia, and I will check the nearest camps. Vork, will you come with us?" The Krell warrior nodded, his scaled skin glistening in the strange light. They set out into the storm, fighting against wind and rain. The ground continued to shake, creating cracks and chasms they had to navigate around. Lightning struck so frequently that the sky seemed constantly lit. In the first camp they reached, they found 3 small aliens huddled in a collapsing shelter. Olivia recognized them as Florians, plant-like beings who were sensitive to temperature. "Changes! We must get them back to our camp," she shouted over the storm. "They'll die in this cold." Alan and Vork helped carry the Florians while Olivia led the way, using her knowledge of the terrain to find safe paths through landslides and fallen trees. At the human camp, Pat immediately treated the Florians for exposure while Eric continued to strengthen their shelter. "There are at least 2 more camps within a mile," Alan told them. "We need to check those too." "The storm is getting worse," Eric warned. "It's not natural. The patterns are too regular." "Engineered weather," Vork agreed. "This is a deliberate test." Alan nodded. "Then we'll show them how humans respond to a challenge." They organized into search teams. Despite the danger, They ventured out again and again, bringing back stranded aliens to their camp. Each time they returned, they found that Eric had expanded their shelter to accommodate more visitors. In the observation station, officials watched in shock. "They're supposed to be ensuring their own survival," Thelix said, "not risking their lives for others." Major Reeves stood up. "That's exactly what humans do. We survive by working together." On a screen, they could see Alan carrying an injured alien twice his size through floodwaters. On another, Olivia was using her climbing skills to reach a stranded alien on a cliff face created by the recent tremors. "This has gone too far," Secretary Carter said. "You're putting lives at risk. End the test now." "The test continues," Thelix insisted. "We must see if they break." But the humans didn't break. When lightning struck their camp and started a fire, they organized a bucket chain with the aliens who could handle water. When a fissure opened beneath their main shelter, they built a new one in hours. Most impressive was their attitude. They didn't panic or complain. Instead, they treated each new disaster as a problem to be solved. They even found moments to joke and encourage others. After a particularly violent tremor, Eric was heard saying, "This reminds me of that summer I spent in California. Earthquakes every week." The aliens in their care couldn't understand this outlook. One finally asked Pat why the humans weren't afraid. "We are afraid," she explained while bandaging an alien's injured limb. "Fear is normal, but we don't let it stop us. On Earth, we face disasters all the time. Hurricanes, earthquakes, floods. We've learned that working together gets us through." The storm reached its peak. The human camp had become a haven for over 20 aliens from 7 different species. Their shelter held firm against winds that could uproot trees. Their supply system ensured everyone had food and water. Their medical station, run by Pat, treated injuries and exposure. In the midst of the engineered apocalypse, the humans had created safety. On the observation station, the screen showed Alan standing in the rain, directing rescue efforts. His clothes were torn, his face was scratched, but he kept working. Next to him, Olivia used her knowledge of plants to identify which ones could help treat alien injuries. Eric continued to build and repair structures despite exhaustion. Pat worked tirelessly to care for the injured. Finally, Grand Observer Thelix gave the order, "End the test." The storms began to calm. The ground stopped shaking. But the humans, unaware that the test had officially ended, continued their rescue missions. As emergency extraction ships began to arrive, many aliens refused to leave until they had personally thanked the humans who had saved their lives. The extraction ships descended through clearing skies, landing in open areas across the test zone. Search teams spread out, expecting to find devastation and trauma. What they found instead amazed them. Alan Ford stood at the entrance of the human camp, now 3 times its original size and housing aliens from 7 different species. Despite exhaustion, dirt, and minor injuries, he greeted the rescue team with a smile. "You folks sure took your time," he said. "We've got some injured who need immediate care." The rescue team's leader, a tall blue alien, stared at the camp in disbelief. Where other zones had collapsed shelters and scattered supplies, the human zone had organized structures, a medical area, food storage, and even a recreational space where some aliens were playing a game with stones on a marked dirt field. "This is unexpected," the rescue leader said. Olivia approached, carrying a makeshift basket of medicinal plants. "We need to get the Florians to proper medical facilities. Their root systems are struggling with the soil contamination from the earthquakes." As extraction teams helped move the injured aliens to transport ships, Eric showed them the innovations he had created: water filtration systems, reinforced shelter supports, and tools made from local materials. "You should take samples of these," Eric told them. "Might be useful for future colonies." Pat was the last to leave her medical station, making sure all her patients were safely transferred to the extraction teams. She handed over detailed notes about each species' injuries and the treatments she had improvised. "The Zentari need specialized care for radiation exposure," she explained, "and watch the Krell for signs of dehydration. Their scales hide it well." The extraction team was speechless. These humans had not only survived but had become experts on alien physiology and care in just 30 days. As they were finally led to their own extraction ship, the humans were surprised to find Admiral Jane Cooper waiting for them. The stern-faced leader of Earth's Space Defense Force regarded them with pride. "Well done," she said simply. "You've changed everything." The humans looked at each other in confusion. "Changed what?" Alan asked. "Follow me," Cooper replied. Aboard the extraction ship, they were shown to a conference room where screens displayed news feeds from across the Confederation. Their faces were on every screen. Crowds of aliens watched footage of their time on the planet, building shelters, hunting food, treating injuries, and most of all, rescuing others during the final storm. "You're celebrities," Cooper explained. "The first species in Confederation history to not only complete the survival test, but to thrive in it." "It wasn't that hard," Eric said. "Just basic camping with some bad weather." Cooper laughed. That basic camping was designed to be nearly unsurvivable. The final storm was 3 times more powerful than anything in previous tests. "That explains a few things," Alan muttered. A tall, slender alien entered the room. She had copper-colored skin and eyes that seemed to shift colors. "I am Narration," she introduced herself. "Confederation anthropologist. I predicted your success, though even I did not anticipate your enjoyment of the challenge." "So this whole thing was rigged against us?" Olivia asked. "Not rigged," Narration corrected. "The Confederation genuinely believed humans would struggle or withdraw like most species. They do not understand Deathworlders." Over the next few days, as they traveled to the Confederation's central station, the humans learned the full truth. Most intelligent species had evolved on gentle planets with stable climates and few predators. Earth, with its extreme weather, tectonic activity, varied environments, and aggressive wildlife, was classified as a death world, a planet thought too harsh to produce intelligent life. When the humans finally arrived at the central station, they found themselves the center of attention. Aliens of all kinds watched them pass, some with fear, others with admiration. They were led to a vast chamber where the Grand Council was in session. Grand Counselor F2, leader of the Galactic Confederation, addressed them directly. "Humans of Earth," the ancient crystalline being said, "your performance in the survival test has forced us to reconsider many assumptions. While other species faced trauma and failure, you found joy and community in adversity." President Kimberly Ross of the United Earth government stepped forward. She had traveled to the station specifically for this moment. "The key to human survival has always been adaptation," President Ross said. "We don't just endure hardship. We learn from it, grow from it, and sometimes even enjoy overcoming it." Grand Counselor F2 nodded. "This perspective is unique and valuable. Therefore, the Council has created a new classification for Earth: extreme adaptation-capable species. Additionally, Earth will be offered a seat on the Defense Council, previously reserved for more physically resilient species." The chamber filled with murmurs, some approving, some concerned. Zef2 continued. "Furthermore, we request human instructors to teach survival techniques to other species. Many have already volunteered for such training." After the formal ceremony, the human team found themselves surrounded by grateful aliens they had rescued during the storm. Vork, the Krell warrior who had stayed with them, approached with a formal bow. "My people have named you honorary clan members," he said. "This is our highest honor." Nisha, the Florian botanist, presented Olivia with a small potted plant. "This grows only on my homeworld," she explained. "It adapts to any soil like humans adapt to any challenge." A small alien child pushed through the crowd and handed Alan a crudely drawn picture showing the humans rescuing aliens during the storm. Above the drawing were symbols in the aliens' language. "What does it say?" Alan asked, and translator nearby smiled. "It says, 'The humans who turned danger into play.'" That evening, in private quarters provided by the Confederation, the 4 humans finally had a moment to themselves. "So," Eric said, lounging in a chair designed for a much larger being, "we thought it was a game, and they thought it was nearly certain death. "Perspective is everything," Pat replied. Alan looked out the window at the stars. "Wonder what they'll think when they visit Earth and see people doing extreme sports for fun." They all laughed at the thought. A week later, they returned to Earth as heroes. Their story spread across the planet, inspiring others. Applications for the next Confederation exchange program increased 1,000-fold. Leon Hammond, a human historian documenting the event, interviewed them for the official record. "In your opinion," he asked, "what was the most important outcome of your experience?" The four exchanged glances before Alan answered. "The universe just got a lot smaller," he said. "We learned that we're tougher than most species out there, but they have their own strengths. We can help each other." 6 months later, the first Galactic Survival Games were announced, a cooperative event where humans would teach other species how to endure harsh conditions. As alien ambassadors expressed concern about safety, the human instructors just smiled. "Trust us," Alan told them as cameras flashed and recorded the historic moment. "It'll be fun." And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, on countless alien worlds, beings who had never known the thrill of overcoming adversity began to learn a very human lesson. Sometimes the greatest challenges bring the greatest joy.